from Jackson Graphics, and I just thought I'd show you a little bit about my embroidery calculator.
So let's take a look at Embroidery Pricing Calculator version 2. So there's a number of new features in this product. Most notably, I want to mention that there are two ways to calculate pricing. The first is the way that I initially wrote the spreadsheet, and that was based on per machine hour. And this was done because I had seen a screenshot of someone who had some kind of calculator that was based on a machine hour way of doing things. I thought that was pretty intriguing, and I'd never seen it before, and so I decided to try to emulate that calculator and try to glean some knowledge based on what pricing looked like on that kind of a model. And then I got a request to do a per stitch version of it. Instead of writing a whole new one, I decided just to add the ability to switch between those things. And so let's dive into it. The first thing you want to do is to set up your shop rates. Now, I know I didn't put this at the top of the calculator, but I figured that your per job thing, it would help you to be able to just look at the top of it and find that area where you needed to punch some things in. So that's why I put the job data stuff up there. But let's talk about shop rates first. Now, shop rates are intended to be your shop standards. These are things that you don't adjust all the time. You might adjust them frequently, but not on a per job basis necessarily. So your setup charge, for instance, is how much you charge to set up a job. This could include anything you want. Whether it includes digitizing or not is up to you. But that is kind of what that is for my shop, is we kind of include digitizing and file conversions and all that stuff into our setup charge fee. Then we also have a threshold for garment number that you can set up to waive the setup charge. So for instance, we have it set to 12. So anything 12 and above is not charged a setup charge. But if anything below that, then the setup charge will charge. So that's what that means. Setup fee, waive price threshold. And this next one is the hourly rate needed to run the machine, and you'll have to figure this out. I mean, this is based on a lot of different things. It could be based on how much you owe on that machine. It could include the late man-hour labor, whoever's running that machine for you. You have to set that. You have to decide what per hour you need to charge to run that machine. Then this is a trim to stitch conversion, and a lot of people know this. They know how many stitches it takes to do a trim. And then the next one is a hooping charge per hoop per blank. And then the next one, next three fields are based on, are for when you base your pricing per stitch rate. The first thing it's got here is a rate that you charge per 1,000 stitches. So this could be $1. Some people are doing 2, some people are doing 1.5. This next one lets you set up a minimum charge. So whatever so many stitches, as long as it's under that, then there's going to be a minimum charge. And then we have on the next row what that minimum stitch count is. So what this is saying then is that if a project is less than 5,000 stitches, then you're going to get a minimum charge of $10 no matter what. And above that, you'll prorate it at the 150. We also have a tax rate field that you can put in there so that you can calculate tax later. And then there's a calculation method. And like I said earlier, you can choose per stitch or per machine hour. The next part I want to talk about is the very top part, and this is what you set per job. So say you ran a stitch count estimate and it was 100,000 stitches, you would put that there. Say that you, because of the colors and the stitch path, you need 10 trims, put that here. The number of hoopings per piece, you'd put that here. The stitch speed, you'd put that here, that you intend to run it, how many heads you're going to dedicate to this project, and the total number of blanks that you have been asked to make. And then how much it costs you to buy these hoodies is what you would put there. You have your shop rate set up, and then you'd have your job data set up, and that allows the calculations to happen. So this 102,500 is your stitch count if you count trims. And then there's only one hooping per blank, and so that's going to be $5. And and your pieces per hour that you can make based on this job stitch count and stitch rate and all those things. Then based on all of this information you put above here, 150, etc., that is your charge, $157.50. So if I change this, my shop standard was actually $1, then you see that changes to $110. So that's how that impacts your stitch rate. So those are kind of your calculations, and I have those there so you can kind of see what's going on in there. We get down to the quantity pricing section, and the first thing I want to tell you is that there are 4 presets here: 25, 50, 75, and 100%, and that's the markup rate for your blanks. So say that your blank costs you $10. When you have a 25% markup, it comes up to $12.50, and 50% comes up to $15, etc., etc. Now the other thing I want to tell you is if you click on these, you can actually change these presets. The next row is your blanks total cost. So what that's doing is just multiplying your blanks cost up here by the number of blanks that are in this job. So that would be it would be your markup cost rather down here times your number of blanks, which gives you this number. And then the next number is that embroidery cost that's up here multiplied by the number of blanks that you have gives you this number. And this row here is for your setup fee, and since we are at or over our threshold, it doesn't charge you, so that's 0. But say my threshold was actually 20, so I'm nowhere near 20, I'm only doing 12, so that would actually charge the setup fee. So let's change back to 12. And then calculated sales tax is based on all of these numbers times your local tax rate, which is up here. So it would add all these together and then multiply it by your sales tax, and it would give you this row. And then it would add all that up and give you the complete job price to the customer. And so in this case, this job would range from $2,238.90 to $2,337.68 based on all of these various factors. And then here at the bottom is something helpful. This gives you an idea of how much per piece you're talking about. And so you can kind of estimate this. Once you know these things, if someone says, hey, I want to do another order of 12 blanks, well, it's going to be about $200 per piece for that job. And so you can kind of give them a quick estimate based on that. And you can say, hey, this is just a quick estimate. I'll give you a detailed invoice later, but this is kind of a quick estimate. I did add something else to this calculator that's not in the previous version, and that is the invoice tab. Now, the invoice tab basically is just a real simple invoice that draws data from the calculator tab. Let me go over it a little bit. First, you have this graphic here. This could be your logo, of course, not mine, but you would replace this with yours. There's a section up here where you can enter the customer's data, their name, the street address, city, street zip, their email, and their phone number, for instance. And then there is a little table below that kind of describes what is being charged. And in this case, there's a line item for number of articles, and there's a quantity column that says 12, and then it draws from the table the price. Now, what it does is it presents a list here of the 4 different calculations you did. This happens to be the 75% markup based on, or this is price based on the 75% markup. But if you pick that button, you'll see there's the 25, the 50, the 75, and the 100. So I could pick that one if I wanted, and it'll update those things. And it draws that information from this row in the table. Then let's see, let me get back to 75 because that's usually where I am. And then your embroidery charge, it draws the quantity from the table, the calculator table, and then it also grabs the charge for embroidery from the table, which is right here, and it auto populates that, and then it does some math on both of those things and then adds them together for your subtotal, and then it calculates the tax, which is right here. You can see that calculates the tax, and then it adds that together and gives you the total, which should match up with this one right here, which it does. So that is, kind of the meat and potatoes of it. And there's also a little spot at the bottom where you can set the payment info. If they make a check, you can tell them what to make it out to. If they want Cash App, you tell them what your Cash App address is, or your PayPal address, or your Venmo address. And then you can set up some contact information if they need to call you, whatever, your phone number, email address, whatever.
No harm, take no shame.